All right, let's get right into it. In the networking world, security is, the one thing that's always changing, always keeping us on our toes. And today, we're going to tackle a huge one. How in the world do you secure a network that doesn't really have any borders anymore? We're going to take a deep dive into how that whole network perimeter is changed, and more importantly, how Cisco's SD-WAN solution is built from the ground up to protect it.
For the longest time, we thought about network security like a castle with a really big moat around it. Simple, right? Well, it's time to throw that idea out the window. That nice, clean perimeter, it's gone. Completely dissolved. Just think about it. You've got remote users all over the place, people using their own devices, tons of IoT gadgets popping up, and all our apps are running in different clouds. So the network edge isn't some line you can draw on a map anymore. It's everywhere a user or a device connects. And what that really means is that our old ways of doing security, they're not just a little out of date, they are fundamentally broken.
Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at how that perimeter evolved and the huge challenges that came with it. Then we'll get into the different ways you can deploy security with Cisco SD-WAN. After that, we'll unpack the security tools built right in. And to wrap it all up, we'll see how you can take a business need and turn it into an actual working policy. Simple as that. Right, first up, the evolving perimeter. I love this subtitle, From a Fortress to a Borderless City. It's a perfect way to think about it. We're not defending a single contained fortress anymore. It's more like trying to secure a massive, sprawling city with no walls, where traffic and people are just everywhere, all the time. In a world like that, a simple wall doesn't work. Security has to be smarter, it has to be everywhere, woven right into the fabric of the network.
This really puts it all into perspective, doesn't it? The then versus now. Back in the day, things were so much simpler. Your users were in the office, your applications and data were in your own data center, and you had this big, beautiful firewall protecting everything. Easy. But now, fast forward to today and that whole model is flipped on its head. Our most important apps are in the cloud. We're talking SaaS, multi-cloud, the whole shebang. And our users, they are literally anywhere and everywhere. So the perimeter didn't just move, it pretty much vanished. The real challenge now is figuring out how to give everyone secure access from any place to any application without slowing everything down to a crawl.
Okay, so this new reality, this borderless network, it creates a whole new set of headaches for us. These are complex problems that our old network designs just weren't built for. So the big question is, what are the specific challenges we absolutely have to solve now? Let's get into it.
This diagram here really lays out the big ones. We've got to deal with securing direct internet access from every single branch, not just from HQ. Then there's the whole industry shift to SASE, which kind of merges networking and security into one thing. We absolutely have to be able to segment our traffic for things like PCI compliance. We need identity policies that stick with the user no matter where they go. And on top of all that, we have to actually see what's happening across our on-prem stuff and all our cloud environments. Honestly, any one of these is a huge project. All of them together, it's a massive challenge.
Let's zoom in on the first one, direct internet access, or DIA. So the old way of doing things was to drag all the internet traffic from your branch offices all the way back to a central data center to be checked out. Super secure, sure, but it created this massive traffic jam, a huge bottleneck, especially for cloud apps. DIA fixes that by letting branches go straight to the internet, awesome for performance, but now you've got a security problem. You need a full security stack at every single location. Imagine trying to manage that by hand across hundreds or even thousands of sites. Yeah, no way. It's just not going to scale.
And that scalability nightmare? That leads us right into our next topic, SASE, which stands for Secure Access Service Edge. The industry basically looked at the problem of putting security appliances everywhere and said, this isn't going to work long term. So SASE is the architectural answer. It's all about bringing together network services like SD-WAN with a whole bunch of security functions that are delivered from the cloud. We're talking secure web gateways, CASB, firewall as a service, all that good stuff. It's security built for the world we live in now, where your users, your data, and your apps are scattered all over the globe.
All right, segmentation. This one is absolutely critical. We used to use things like VLANs to keep traffic separate inside a building. But how do you do that across a global network? Like, how do you make absolutely sure your point of sale systems in hundreds of stores are totally isolated from the guest Wi-Fi? Well, that's where Cisco SD-WAN comes in. It lets you create these end-to-end logical segments, they're called VPNs in the SD-WAN world, that stretch across your entire WAN. This is huge because it guarantees that different types of traffic, say for PCI compliance or just internal policies, can never, ever cross paths.
Okay, so we've spent a lot of time talking about the problems. Let's shift gears and talk about the solution. One of the most important things to understand about Cisco SD-WAN security is that it's a framework, not a rigid mandate. It's not a one-size-fits-all deal. It's a super flexible architecture that lets you roll out security in a way that actually makes sense for your business. So, let's check out the 3 main ways you can do this.
First up is what we call integrated security. The easiest way to think about this is for your thick branches, the bigger offices that need more power. In this setup, the SD-WAN device at the branch is an all-in-one box. It has the full security stack built right in. Firewall, IPS, URL filtering, you name it. It handles segmenting your internal traffic and does a full security inspection for anything heading out to the internet. This model gives you all the bells and whistles, right there at the edge.
Next, we have the regional hub model. This is a bit more of a centralized approach, but it's been updated for the modern world. So instead of sending all your traffic back to one main data center, you can send your internet traffic to a regional hub, maybe in a colocation facility. At that hub, you can deploy a bigger, more powerful security stack. This lets you consolidate security for a bunch of branches in the same area, which is a great way to balance costs with performance.
And model number 3, which is getting super popular, is cloud-delivered security. This is perfect for your thin branches, sites that don't have a lot of gear, or for securing traffic that's going straight to SaaS apps. All you do is tunnel your internet traffic to a cloud security service, like Cisco Umbrella's Secure Internet Gateway, or SIG. The cloud does all the heavy lifting for security inspection. This gives you incredible scale and it's way simpler to manage. And here's the best part. You don't have to pick just one. The real beauty here is that you can mix and match all 3 of these models across your network, using whatever makes the most sense for each site.
All right, so we've covered where you can deploy security. Now for the really fun part. What are we actually deploying? What are the tools in the toolbox? Let's peel back the layers and look at the powerful security features that are baked right into the Cisco SD-WAN solution itself. This is the integrated security stack.
And this is so important. We're not just talking about a simple firewall here. This is a full, layered, defense-in-depth strategy. You've got your application-aware firewall that understands applications, not just ports. Then there's an intrusion prevention system, or IPS, powered by Snort and backed by the amazing threat intelligence from Cisco Talos to stop known attacks. You also get top-notch URL filtering to keep people away from bad websites and advanced malware protection, or AMP, to zap malicious files. DNS security, through Cisco Umbrella, stops threats before the connection even gets made. And finally, a TLS/SSL proxy lets you peek inside encrypted traffic, which is a huge blind spot for a lot of security setups.
And this diagram really shows how it all clicks together. You can see that full stack of security, firewall, AMP, all of it, deployed across the entire SD-WAN fabric. But honestly, the most powerful part of this picture is the thing that controls it all: vManage. Every single one of these security functions is configured and monitored from one central place, using automated templates. This is what gives you that single pane of glass for both your networking and your security. This is what solves that management nightmare we were talking about earlier.
Okay, a quick but really important note for all the network architects out there. You have to know that the specific features you get can depend on the operating system your device is running. So while both iOS XE and Viptela OS can handle the basics, like a zone-based firewall, some of the more advanced stuff, like that application-aware firewall we mentioned, or rules based on FQDN for cloud services, those are specific to the iOS XE platforms right now. It's just something super important to keep in mind when you're designing your network and picking out your hardware. Okay, we've covered the challenges, the how and the what. Now for what I think is the most important part. How do we actually use all this stuff to solve real business problems? This is where the rubber meets the road. We're going to see how we take a high-level business idea and turn it into a real automated security policy.
Let's take a classic example that pretty much everyone has to deal with: PCI compliance. Protecting credit card data. The business need is crystal clear. Keep that payment traffic isolated and secure. Well, the SD-WAN security features map perfectly to that. We use those SD-WAN VPNs to create a totally separate segment for that payment traffic, end-to-end. Then the enterprise firewall locks down the perimeter at the edge, and the IPS actively stops any attacks. See? It's a straight line from a compliance rule to a real working technical fix.
And how about that secure DI use case? If you want to let your branch users go straight to the internet and to cloud apps without getting into trouble, a simple firewall just isn't going to cut it. You need layers, multiple coordinated layers of security. So we use VPNs to separate corporate traffic from, say, guest traffic. The firewall provides that basic access control. The IPS and AMP are there to protect against attacks and malware. And then DNS security and URL filtering are your first line of defense, stopping users from ever even getting to a bad site. It takes the whole integrated stack working together to pull this off safely.
This table right here, this is the whole magic of the system. It's really the key takeaway. Think of vManage as the brain of the whole operation. As an admin, you don't mess with complex configs. You start with a simple business intent. For example, look at number 2. We want our Microsoft 365 traffic to use the local internet for better performance. Simple. The controller then makes the decision to send that traffic out the local breakout. And then it automatically figures out the technical method to make it happen, in this case by pushing out a data policy. It does this for all your traffic, translating what you want into what the network does, all without you touching a command line. And that really brings us full circle and to a final question for you to think about. Your network is not static. It's dynamic, it's distributed, and it's changing all the time. We've seen that the tools are now here to build a security architecture that's just as smart and just as agile. So the real question you've got to ask yourself is this. As your network evolves, is your security policy actually keeping pace? Or is it still designed for a world that doesn't exist anymore?